Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today I'm going to be walking you through your 2026 Wildwood 40Rlb. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. If you notice on the right, you are pre-mounted for a Lippard collapsible stair system. If you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact the parts department. It's a great little addition to get set up on your camper. That way you can hook it on and off whenever you need it, so you can get up onto your roof and check all your seals periodically. Also located at the back is going to be your cable satellite inlet. And then coming around to the driver's side of the unit. In this corner, as well as all four corners of the unit, you do have these stabilizer jacks. Now the way these works is, you can just hook up your 3/4 inch drive tool to this drive nut here, run this foot down to the ground. Once the foot contacts the ground, just giving another 8/4 turn, snug it up. It's gonna take any bounce or sway you see we have in the unit right now away, but just a couple notes with it. They are stabilizing jacks, they're not leveling jacks. If you try and use it to level a trailer, there is a risk that you could bend the jack, so just keep that in mind. And the same does go for if you're running it up or down with a drill or an impact. And then you do have these little tabs sticking out here, and you could be curious as what they're for. They're for ground anchors. So if you were to run an anchor down to the ground, that's how you could secure it to that anchor. Great little addition they did throw in there. Typically in Manitoba, you're probably not gonna have to worry about it, but the option's there. So if I were you, having a step ladder around this unit is probably gonna be pretty handy. The vent flap up there, you're gonna see it's now open. We are gonna have to close that before it goes for travel, because the reason it opens and closes is that it can close so that once you are traveling, you're not getting any excess dust inside of the unit. And then once you get to your campsite, just opening it up. So that way you can get rid of all the fumes that it's supposed to. Down below is going to be your first sewer exit. This is going to be for your galley, so that's just going to be emptying where your kitchen sink drains into. This is going to be the first outlet for that. This is going to be one of the ones you're going to want to empty last. Now coming a bit more up ahead, you have your city water connection. So if you're at a site with service, you can just thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the need to run your water pump. And then you do have your fresh water connection. So if you put a garden hose in there, turn it on, it's going to fill that fresh tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of. Just keep in mind, if you are filling that fresh tank, you're not going to want to leave it unattended, because if it were to start filling up and got full, you could by chance overfill it, which you don't want to do. Standard 50 amp twist lock connection. You're just taking note of that silver strip there. It lines up with this silver strip on this side. You're just pushing that guy into place. Push, lock, twist. You're all plugged in. Threaded collar to really lock it down. Now if you follow the cord back, you do come to a standard 50 amp plug end. Now a lot of campsites may not have this plug end, so that's why we do include this 30 amp dog bone converter. Just keep it in mind when you're going down to 30 amps power. If you were to have two air conditioners, you can only run one at a time. So just keeping that in mind, that's going to be the biggest thing. There might be a couple other things that you could look into. Once you do plug it in, you get the two blue lights at the top telling you have a successful power source. And then we do also include a 15 amp adapter to go down from 30, just so that in case you did only have a standard outlet to run this trailer, you could do so. Just keep in mind, a trailer of this size with a standard outlet, you're only going to really be running your slide outs, your fridge, and your lights. That's about it. You got another stabilizer jack in the front, and then you do your fresh water drain right here. Pulling that valve releases all the water that's inside the fresh tank. Then you're coming to your next sewer outlets. So you have the black one, that is going to be the dirtiest water filled from your toilets, so that is going to be the one you're going to want to empty first. And then you got two more grays, which you're going to want to empty last, because they're typically a little cleaner water. They work pretty simple, just taking that cap, twisting it off, taking note of the ears on either side. It's the same ears your sewer hose is going to have. They just line up with the tabs like so, click and lock into place. Now you're going to notice here you do have a black tank flush, so if you're having false monitor panel readings, you're just noticing an odor around the unit, it's always a good idea after every few times of dumping this, just to hook up your garden hose and spray out that tank that little bit, just making sure you do read the caution sticker that you do have to have the sewer hose connected as well as the tank open. Reason being, if you're pushing pressure inside of the tank and the pressure's got nowhere to go, you could expand that tank to the point of cracking, which you don't want to do because that's a costly mistake. Up top, you got your furnace exhaust. Sorry, your hot water heater exhaust. Whenever your hot water heater is running, it is blowing out hot air, so be mindful of that. And then once you open it up, just a couple things you need to worry about. You got a little inline fuse here, which we've never seen one blow, but it is a possibility it blows. It's for the igniter. So if you're ever having an igniting issue and we weren't able to come out to service it, that is a good place to check. Power switch turns on power to the thermostat inside. And then if you had a camper before, it probably had a standard water heater a standard tank water heater, in which case it had bypass valves behind it, which you had to turn because you didn't want to run antifreeze into that system. Now this system is the complete opposite. It's a tankless system. There's a bunch of copper coils that run in a circle, big flame in the middle that heats up the water as the water is flowing through it. You want to run antifreeze through this system, no bypass valves. And then once you're done the winterization process completely, crack on the pressure relief valve, leaving it cracked open for the duration of winter. That way, once the antifreeze starts gelling up, it has a place to go and doesn't expand and crack inside the coils. Close that up, lock, put it into place. Furnace exhaust, whenever the furnace is running, this is blowing out hot air as well. You're gonna notice this one last sewer cap that's not hooked up to anything, no valves. This is for the washer dryer combo. If you were to get set up with it, you're pre-plumbed and pre-wired for it. If you were to run the washer, you'll always have to make sure that you undo this cap. Reason being, this is gonna be the drain. When you run a load, when it goes to drain it, if this cap isn't off, it's gonna backflow into the unit, which we don't wanna do. You get the exterior shower here as well. Set standard 751 key, it's gonna come included with the unit. Then you have your first, probably and only exterior little storage spot, flipping that guy open. You got your stabilizer jack tool, which comes included. Then that standard starter kit does come with this 10-foot sewer hose, 15-foot water hose, some other miscellaneous goodies, including a 15-amp park adapter. Now, coming around to the front of the unit, underneath this box here, you are going to have to remove the propane tanks to get to it, but that's going to be where you house your 27 RV. And then right at the front, you got your 2 standard propane tanks. Typically, get what you need done just by loosening off those tabs, flipping the cover open. You get access to everything, but for the purpose of the video, I'll slide it right out of place. 2 standard 30-pound propane tanks, a little bit bigger than your standard barbecue style, but still works the same way. Regulator at the front. There's the selector valve with it pointed this way. You're drawing off this tank. If this tank were to go empty while you're using it, just turning it off, disconnecting it so you can go and fill it up. And you could twist this over to this side and just start drawing off this tank while this one's getting filled up. Turn it on counterclockwise like any standard barbecue, all the way, nice and slowly, not too fast. Little green on the front's telling you that you do have propane flowing. Now coming around to the passenger side of the unit, you got your main entryway door, which is what we'll be entering through today, but I'll go over the rest of the outside. You got your 2 JBL speakers. You got a couple GFI plugins, as well as a cable satellite outlet in case you were wanting to put a TV outside here of any sort. Then you got your patio door entrance, which we're not going to be entering through today because it's locked. I don't have the keys on me. It's going to work the same way as the other door. And then just kind of the rest of the unit. So now for the best part, we can take a step on inside. Pulling the stairs out towards you, just pull towards you. You're going to flip down, and then you can fold that last stair. Opening up the door, take a step on inside. Now, one thing we should note now, if this bedroom door is open all the way, it's going to come into contact with that awning arm. So if you went to run your awning with this door open, you do run the risk of damaging the awning or the door. You don't want to do that, so always double checking that you do have the door closed 90 degrees or closed completely when you go to run that awning in or out. That way you're not damaging anything. Now taking a step on inside, you got your main bedroom area. You got some light switches on your right. First, we're going to go over into the main living space where you're going to find your main kind of control panel area. On the wall here, you got that big switch right in the middle. It's a dimmer. Turns on all the main living space lights. Then you got your slide out operation switch. Before you ever operate the slide out in or out, always making sure that you try and make sure that the slide out's clear on the inside and the outside, making sure you have enough room on the outside. And why I say making sure it's clear on the inside is sometimes things tend to shift during travel. So just making sure there's nothing caught in between the slide outs. It's going to damage it between the wall and the slide itself. So just be mindful and vigilant. Maybe try and have a second person here because this slide out button is going to operate all these slide outs. It works on a hydraulic system, so it's going to push out the slide with the least resistance first. So typically it goes bedroom. You're going to have your passenger side slide go out, and then your driver is going to be last because it's the heaviest. Pushing and holding the button. Here the motors wind up. They're going to start doing their thing. Like I said, it's probably pushing out that bedroom slide first. And then that slide's gonna start going out behind us now again. And then last, we do have the kitchen side coming out. Once all these slides are at their full extension, you're gonna hear the motors wind up. So you hear the motors wind up, that's how you know everything is fully extended. Now, if you wanted to be sure, because you're leaving them out for the rest of the season, because this is a pretty large unit, just run your hand. You wanna make sure that you feel that slide bulb seal sealing against the wall. That way you're sealing out any water. Now, you do have slide toppers on top here, fortunately, which is gonna help you greatly. But just making sure that everything is sealed up nicely. Then we can go over the rest of the monitor panel system, and we can move back into the bedroom. So you got your monitor panel system up top. You do only have one black tank, although it does say you have two. So you push the tank that you want to read. It's going to give you the corresponding level. The same thing for the battery and the fresh tank. Then you got your gray and your galley. Again, gray is going to be for the bathroom. Galley is going to be for your main kitchen sink here. Then you got your water pump switch, which does draw to your fresh tank. And then you got awning lights, which is just an awning LED strip light on the outside. Then you got some accent lighting, which turns on some backlighting behind the slide outs. Then you got your awning switch. So again, making sure that door is folded 90 degrees. Push and hold the awning extend button, which is down. The awning's gonna start making its way out. You're gonna know the awning's fully extended. You can see the back of the metal tube and a little flap hang down. It's a good idea to try and be looking outside while you're putting it out. That way you can make sure everything's rolling out nice and even. Nothing's getting caught on nothing. You're gonna see that flap start to hang down, and now you got the back of it. Now sometimes that flap can get stuck, so if it does start getting stuck, you can either try pulling it down yourself if you have a ladder, or just try retracting it and putting it back out. Just retract it a little bit and try putting it back out. Sometimes it just sticks. Now, if it were to start raining, you can take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center arm. Now it's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now, if you like that angle better, because it's also going to allow for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm, just making sure that you do push them both back to straight before you bring that awning in. Now, whenever you have your awning out, always being very sure that you keep an eye on the wind speeds. Once they start picking up, you're going to want to make sure you do bring it in, because it acts as a wind sail. And they do rip off the side of your trailer pretty easy, or they do bend things, so we don't want that. And then, of course, if you do have to roll it in while it's wet, it's fine, but just try and remember to put it back out at your next earliest convenience, so that way you're not accelerating the growth of mold or mildew inside. That's going to be it for that control panel. Now you can take a step on inside, go over the bedroom. So up on the wall here, cable satellite outlets. Of course, if you were to mount a TV up on your dresser here. Then you got this little black button, which turns the screen light on. Now that does turn the antenna on the roof. It also is going to improve radio frequency and cell phone frequency. So I typically recommend leaving it on whenever you're here. But just try to remember to turn it off when you do leave, as it does draw battery power. Then you got your versatile bed control. Down is going to go down, up is going to go up. Now you're going to notice it's up. The versatile bed does have to be all the way up for the slide out to come in fully without running into your dresser. So just keep that in mind whenever you're doing that. Tons of storage throughout this unit. Now, of course, whenever you're using the storage anywhere inside this unit, always being mindful of drains, water lines, and wiring. You don't want to be affecting any of that. All the blinds in the unit are going to work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. One quick pull will allow them to retract back up. Lights all throughout. Right inside your bedroom, you do have your main fuse and breaker panel, so you're pushing that down. Whenever you have a breaker trip, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And then, of course, you do have all your corresponding fuses on your right. This side of the bedroom here, got tons of storage space. Now, you're going to notice some lines running inside of here. And if you come and open up this closet, you're going to notice plugins and some plumbing. Now, this is going to be where you're prepped for your washer dryer combo. If you'd like to get set up with that, again, just contact your parts department. They'd be more than happy to help you out with putting a quote together. Essentially, it's a stacker that will go inside of here. Now, that would eliminate your closet space, but if you need it to do laundry, it's probably going to be worth it. You're going to notice this thermostat here, how seems like it works. You are prepped for a second air conditioner. It would go inside that vent there. Now you could only run 2 air conditioners at once if you had a 50 amp service, but you could still go with that air conditioner if you wanted to have more air at the front during the night, so you can turn the back one off. If you'd like to get set up with that, just contact your parts department. They can put together a quote for you, but you are pre-wired for it, which is nice in case you ever were to go that option. Now taking a step into the bathroom. Opening up that door, taking a step on inside. Your light switch is going to be on your right. That second light switch turns on this little accent light inside the shower, which I thought was pretty sweet. And then you're pretty much your standard bathroom. You got your main GFI plug here on the wall. You got reset up top, test down below. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I'd look. And then of course you do have a vent inside of here. Now for the vent to work, you're going to see if you push the open or close button, it's not going to work. You actually have to turn the fan on first, and then it'll allow you to open up that vent lid. Now with it all the way up like that, if you were to start traveling, you do run the risk of damaging the vent lid. If it were to start raining, it's going to go pretty wet inside of here, so we do sell vent covers here at the shop. It's a cover that goes over top of this vent. It's going to stop that vent lid from being damaged in any sort of rain or hail. It's also going to help stop getting wet inside of here, so you could leave if you're showering and it was raining, or going to the bathroom and you wanted to evacuate some fumes. You can leave it open when it's raining. It's not going to get wet. Then to put it down, just holding the down button, the vent starts closing itself. Once you hear the motor wind up and the vent lid seal, you can let off the button, turn off the fan, and that is that. Storage all around here. We do leave toilet paper dispenser holder in here because it's going to be a personal preference thing where you would want to mount it. Now taking a step into the main living space. First thing you're going to notice beside the patio door is going to be that fire extinguisher, which works pretty much just like home. Taking it off the wall, pull the pin and shoot. You got your patio door set up. And then you do have your pantry, massive pantry. The light switch is on the right. And then if you come really inside here, you're gonna notice you got this little thermostat on the wall. This is gonna be for your water heater. You got the power button to turn it off or on, up or down to change your set desired temperature. And you can change that between Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button. Now as an added safety feature for kids, hopefully your kid's not watching this, you're locked to 50 degrees right off the bat. If you wanted hotter water for some reason, you could hold that up button for 5 seconds and it will unlock it and allow you to go up another 5 degrees. And then let's say you're done with your hot water, but you don't want the kids to scald their hands, you can turn it back down to 50 and it's gonna stay locked there as long as they don't know to hold the button for 5 seconds. So in here, we already went over the monitor panel system with all your controls. Right below that, you do have this little residential style switch, which is going to turn on your ceiling fan over there. Then you got your thermostat. This thermostat's going to work the same way as the one in the back. The one in the back, like I said, isn't hooked up to anything, and it would only be hooked up to your second air conditioner if you were to go with one. But this one is going to be hooked up to your furnace and your air conditioner. Your air conditioner is going to move all its air through the ceiling ducting you have throughout the unit. And then whenever you are using that, you're probably going to need a step ladder, but you've got a couple different options. You can either close these louvers or leave them open. It's going to be a totally a personal preference thing. I do recommend leaving them closed because you're equipped with a high airflow system, so you shouldn't need to have them open. But we'll go over the modes now. And before we do that, sorry, scatterbrain moment. The furnace is going to run off propane, so if you don't have the propane system on and purged, I recommend purging it. We're going to do that through the stove, and I'll go over that once we get there. But again, the furnace is going to run through propane. AC is electric. Push the button twice to get into your modes. Before you go into the modes, you can push it again and you can go into your fan. Now you can run that fan on either high or low. It's going to move air around, but it's not going to be cooling anything. It's just going to be moving air around. Push the button once, we'll go into mode. You can go over to cool right away. You're gonna notice now when we go into fan, it says auto. So you can take that off auto and run it on high or low, but when you are running on high or low, that air conditioner is gonna run continuously regardless of what you have the room set to. When you turn it on to auto, high or low, it creates creates it to be an on-demand system. So if the room says it's 22 and you adjust the room temperature by twisting the knob when you're in one of the cooling options, you want it down to 17. Once the thermostat senses the room 17 degrees, it will kill the air conditioner so you're not running it continuously. So one more over from cool, you got heat. So again, that's gonna kill your air conditioner and fire up your furnace. Your furnace moves all its air through the floor portals you have throughout the unit. Now whenever you fire up that furnace, it does run for an additional 3 minutes after you turn it off to allow itself to cool down. And a really cool feature Coleman has on these thermostats now is they have a cool plus heat option, but you have to make sure you do leave it on auto fan, so that way it can kill whichever fan it needs to. Whenever you have it in the cool plus heat option, based off of what you have the room set to and what the room actually is, will depend on what it fires up. And then one more time, we'll take you into dry mode, which is just a dehumidifying mode to try and take as much moisture out of the air, and then off. Now you got your little bar area, which I thought was really cool they included in this. Again, tons of storage throughout, and then you do have your little bar sink. Then you're gonna notice on this door here, you got an antifreeze inlet sticker. If you pop that guy open, you got 2 screws on either side here. If you pop those screws off, gives you access to your water pump where you would do your winterization. You have a little mini ever-chill fridge right beside it. Just keep it in mind, it does only run offshore power, but your main fridge also only runs offshore power, so I guess that wouldn't be an issue. Bar stools underneath, pretty sweet, but making sure that they are where they are and they're not going to run into the slide when you go to close them. And the same thing does go for these foldable chairs. We recommend leaving them in the slide out like they are now, making sure that your other chairs are strapped down with their travel straps. And that goes for any travel straps inside of this unit. You want to make sure that they're latched down so that way they're not going anywhere whenever you are moving. You're going to notice this little light switch here. Turns on that big accent light right above your head, which is going to light up the whole kitchen really well. Now coming to your stove, you got your convection oven right up top. That's got a built-in light and fan on it. That fan is the range hood I was talking about. I always recommend running a range hood whenever you are running your stove, because your stove does run off propane. When it burns off, it takes oxygen out of the air, so you want to make sure that you're trying to evacuate as much as that as possible. Now, because you have propane equipped inside of here, you got your LP detector right over there near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply propane at the front of the unit and just open up some windows and vents to get some fresh oxygen inside of here. It's also very sensitive to cleaning chemicals, so if you're ever cleaning around it with a chemical and it started going off, use your best judgment, but it probably could just be that. So now that we're coming back to our stove, the reason I told you that you have to purge it is because if you turn the propane system off and you leave it off, it allows air into the system, and if you ever disconnect any of the bottles because you had to fill them up, it lets lots of air in the system, and sometimes it can take a few minutes to purge all that air out. Now, if you go to fire up your water heater or your furnace, those only should try lighting themselves a couple times before it's going to throw a fault code. If you don't know what the fault code means, it could throw some frustration into your weekend. We want to try to avoid that and keep your good times coming. So that's why I recommend firing up your stove first thing when you get to your campsite, even if you fire it up for just a few seconds, turning it over to the high/light option. And you see it does fire right on up. Now today, of course, I had the system running earlier, so that's why it did fire up so quickly. Sometimes it can take a few minutes, so you just have to be patient with it. And whenever you are running this gas valve, making sure that you are running this igniter every few seconds, because if you fail to run the igniter every few seconds, once the propane starts coming through, you can have a buildup of gas and a minor combustion, which could result in some lost eyebrows and burnt skins. So we want to try and avoid that. So again, just whenever you are running the gas valve, just making sure that you're hitting that igniter every few seconds, even if it's not lighting, because if propane would start coming through, we all like to keep our hair unburnt, but eventually it does all light. The stove could be, or the oven could be even trickier to light just because the gas orifice for the pilot is so small, so it only allows tiny bits of propane out to get the stove to light, which you do have a light switch here, which turns on some illumination lights and your oven light down below. Turning it over to the high/pilot option, pushing and holding the knob in, looking down over there by that small gas orifice on the right side, hitting that igniter. Like I said, you're going to see now why I say it can take a few seconds. because you're going to see we're hitting it. And now that pilot lit, just holding that button in for a few more seconds. If you can let off that button and the pilot hold its own, it's ready to fire up. You can turn it up to your desired temperature, and it does fire up with ease. Like I said, sometimes it can take a few minutes, so just be patient with it and making sure you're operating the igniter every few seconds. Other than that, storage space all around. Just be mindful of drains and water lines. And then you got your sink, which the sink they have been going with for this year is sweet. You got your big gold knob here. This is going to be your temperature control as well as your water flow. So obviously turning it to the right or left, sorry, turns on this head here, your swivel main head, and you got cold, which is the first, and then the further you go over, the hotter it's going to get. And then going to the right, turning that to the right, operates your garden sprayer, which sprays out here. Now there is going to be somewhere inside of this unit, there's going to be a box with a bunch of different accessories that you can install into the sink. I'm not sure where it is, but I do ensure that it is in here. It's right here. So there's a bunch of different trays you can install in there so you can spray off your vegetables or whatever you'd like to do. You're going to notice this power button here. Not really sure why there's a power symbol on it, as all it does is operate the stopper for the sink so that you can fill it up with water if you'd like to do that. You got a soap dispenser. There's a little bottle on the bottom that you just have to unscrew and fill up every once in a while. And then the coolest part is you got a cup washer. The only not cool part is if you press it and there's no cup on it, it's going to spray water, and the water does go right to the ceiling. So just being careful. If you have kids, maybe put a cover over top of it if you're not using it. Just something to be mindful of, because it will spray out as soon as you press it down. And if the system's pressurized, there's definitely pressure there. Then you got your residential style fridge. Pretty self-explanatory. You got your different temperature settings, of course. Coldest being the coldest, one being the not coldest, off to go off. If you ever have had it on, you've had it on all year, and you turn it off, it's always a good idea to let these fridge doors stay open for a couple hours and probably put some towels all in and around it, just so you don't accelerate the growth of mold or mildew while you're gone. Then coming to your entertainment center, TV mounted on the wall. Again, just noticing the travel strap, so if you're moving around, you're going to want to make sure it's locked into place. Down below, you got your JBL sound system, pretty much just like home. You got all your Bluetooth and USB plugins and stuff. The only difference is you got your different speaker settings here. So you got your A speakers, which is going to be this front set of speakers. You got the B speakers, which is going to be your rear bedroom set of speakers. And then the C is going to be your outside speakers. Fireplace down below, power button on the far right. And to the left of that, you do your different flame colors. One more right in the middle. You get your different rock light colors. And then two in from the far left. You got your different heat options. Pushing it twice gets you into low heat. One more time will get you into high heat. Then you got a timer that goes anywhere from 30 minutes to 9 hours. Power button to turn that off. Now you're going to notice this little doorknob here. Again, like I said, tons of storage space. You got storage all behind here. Just, of course, probably be mindful of all that wiring there. You're not going to be wanting to hopefully run into that. Close that door. And inside here, they got this light, and I know it's going to be hard to see, but once you set it, you can kind of forget it. It's got two different settings. It's got constantly on, which is the first bar, which is going to be clicked to your right. And then if you click it to the left, it's going to be the 2-bar option, which is then the motion sensing option. So once it doesn't sense motion for a certain amount of minutes, it'll turn itself on. And once you off, and then once you open the door, senses motion, turns itself on. Pretty cool little option. Sitting it in the middle turns it right off, so it won't turn on at all. Making sure that does close. Again, you got your rear section here. This does turn out into a bed in case you were to have some extra guests. You just have to pull the cushions off the backer. Pick up at the foot of the couch, pull towards you. That's going to fold it out of place. Then you can take your legs, fold them on down, push this down on the ground, take that back cushion, that back seat backer, fold down. You'd have yourself another bed. And then it's just the total opposite to flip it all back into place. And then you're just taking your seat cushions and plopping them back in. You've got your two recliner chairs over here. And then that is pretty much going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.